Hey, folks, Mother's Day is coming up, and guess who just did you a huge favor? Me, because I have the best gift you could possibly give your mom. Frankly, it's a great gift for anybody, your parents, your cousins, your grandparents, your kids. But Mother's Day is coming up, and this is a fantastic gift because what does your mother want from you? They just want you. They want you to call or to show up or be there. Maybe if you have kids, they want to see your kids. Well, of course, maybe you don't want to do that. So the next best thing is pictures of you, pictures of your kids. And how do you do that? Aura Frames. Aura Frames is named #1 by Wirecutter. And it is what it is. It's an electric. It is a frame where you can actually upload pictures to it from your phone. It is so easy to set up. It's fantastic. I have given this as a gift. I have given this as a gift to my girlfriend's parents. They ended up buying one for all of the kids in their family. We gave my mom one years ago, and I mean, this is sort of a weird story, but I think people know that on the show that my mother had dementia and Alzheimer's, and but the pictures that we played on, and you can play videos as well. She ended up developing a relationship with the frame. I mean, literally would talk to the frame because she would hear my kids talking to her on it. Brian, you got one for your dad, didn't you?
I did.
Yes.
I got one for Christmas, and the other day I uploaded 3 pictures of me with Mamdani, and he was like, "I'm sending you a DNA test. No son of mine takes pictures with commies like
there
that."
You go. So you can also use it as like passive aggressive things. But the point is, it is so easy to set up. You can literally load the pictures on it without ever seeing it. You order it for your mom, and you load the pictures up. She plugs it in. Super easy to set up. And there, boom, the pictures are already there. The photos look like real print because Aura Frames have meticulously calibrated high resolution displays. You can put emojis on there. It will crop your photos automatically if you want. I mean, it's just a fantastic gift. It is, like I say, named #1 by Wirecutter. You can save on the gifts mom love by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver matte frame with the code majority. That's AURA frames.com, promo code majority. Support the show. Mention us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. And you can find more information in the podcast and YouTube description. And now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal.
Steps away
from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Chris Rabb, running for the Democratic nomination in Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District. Also on the program today, Katherine Blankenship, immigration attorney from Florida on Alligator Alcatraz. And then Lindsey Boylan, running for city council in New York City. We had on this program months ago in support of Zohran Mamdani, Also on the program, Trump Tacos extends the Iran deadline indefinitely, at least the one that was due yesterday, but he also had decreed another deadline for today, but no word on that one. Meanwhile, Iran, showing their respect to Donald Trump, used their non-existent navy to seize 2 container ships in the Strait of Hormuz, which it does not control. In Virginia, voters vote to undo prior redistricting, gaining Democrats 4 congressional seats. The vote-a-rama begins on the Republican reconciliation bill they're hoping will fund ICE. Democratic Rep. Trephilius McCormick resigns just prior to health ethics sanctioning. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been targeted by the DOJ for supposed fraud, which involved them paying informants in its reporting of right-wing extremist groups. Notorious right-wing Fifth Circuit Court rules that Texas can require public schools to display the 10 Commandments. Britain to roll out a ban on tobacco cigarettes for everyone born in 2009 and later. Trump's Fed chair nominee refuses to answer who won the 2020 election. Meanwhile, Republican Tom Tillis to block the nomination until the Jerome Powell investigation ends. The Iran war now causing Europe to have a jet fuel shortage as major airlines begin to cancel thousands of flights. And tragically, Alan Dershowitz has registered as a Republican. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Emma Vigeland out today. Thanks for joining us on what, I don't know. Wednesday don't even feel like hump day anymore because it just all feels like it's just, we're plateaued in the valley, as it were.
I thought it was Friday this morning.
I know.
This week has felt so long.
I thought yesterday was Thursday.
Well, I got a ticket from street cleaning. That's how off I am right now.
That is impressive, actually, because you never do that. One of the things that I think we are, when we're looking for the silver lining, as it were, Donald Trump has definitely attempted to have an authoritarian government in many respects, certainly. And it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Our government has become far more authoritarian under Donald Trump than it ever has in the past. And certainly, as a clinical analysis, Donald Trump is an authoritarian figure. And there's about Bob Altemeyer, famously. Whose work was featured in John Dean's book in 2005. I can't remember exactly what the name of it was now. But he was a professor from the University of Manitoba, and they had done clinical work up there and found that 25% of North Americans are right-wing authoritarians. And certainly Donald Trump has his authoritarian followers. They have been very successful at destroying and degrading our government. Agencies that you never knew were doing things that protected you, protected workers' rights, protected consumer rights, protected our rights as citizens. It's going to take years for us to really feel the impact of these things, and even longer to rebuild them. But on the other hand, Donald Trump has been foiled largely by his own stupidity. And I say that, with the full knowledge that you got people like Russell Vought, who I think are quite evil geniuses. But Donald Trump is I think, I don't want to say insane. I don't know what the clinical term is, but he's off and he's not very bright. And because of that, and because of pushback from Democrats and a growing progressive Democratic base that wants the Democratic Party to fight, a lot of their plans have gone sideways. Here is Fox News reporting on one of those plans last night.
Redistricting measure, which could give Democrats an advantage heading into the midterms, and a big one at that. With former President Barack Obama writing on X, quote, "Congratulations, Virginia. Republicans are trying to tilt the midterm elections in their favor, but they haven't done it yet. Thanks for showing us what it looks like to stand up for our democracy and fight back." Our next guest lives in Virginia. Defending Education founder Nikki Neely joins me now. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us on this. One of the notable things about this is that this was narrowly passed in Virginia, 51.5 to 48.5, but it's going to have a major implication when it comes to the congressional map. I mean, it will change it drastically, could give Democrats 10 seats to Republicans 1. So as a Virginia resident yourself, what do you think about this?
This is sickening. Virginia used to have
we're
was
done.
basically the
No, we don't need to see more. The Republicans started out, I should say, Donald Trump started out his administration about a year ago saying that he wants Texas to do redistricting mid-census. We redistrict every 10 years because we see changes in population, and so we need to adjust. There has always been gerrymandering. In 2010, the godfather of Republican gerrymandering, he's since passed away, but all of his documents were actually found by his estranged daughter during the first Trump administration when they were trying to jerry-rig the census. They started using computers and they were able to redistrict down to the voter.
Thomas Hofeller, you're talking
what's that?
about. Thomas Hofeller is who you're
Yes,
talking about.
Hofeller. And they were able to redistrict down to the voter and begin to basically launch the next generation of gerrymandering. For years, we saw this in Wisconsin, where it would take Democrats to have to win 65% of the votes to get 51% of the representation in the state house. Donald Trump launched the next round of redistricting, gerrymandering, in literally ordering Texas to find 5 more congressional seats. And Texas did that. But what he did not count on was that much of Republican gerrymandering has already taken place. So there's only so much blood you can squeeze out of that stone. But Democrats largely had not done that. There's an argument on a couple of seats in Illinois and Maryland, but I mean, gerrymandering exists without a doubt. But they had not done it to the degree that Republicans. Well, now they have. They did it in California. They just did it in Virginia, and they're going to pick up 4 more seats. Our politics have become far more nationalized than they were in the past. Let's let, what's his name, Waters? Jesse Waters have the last word on this.
Fox News alert. According to the AP, voters in Virginia have approved Democrats' plan to gerrymander congressional districts 50 to 49. This could flip 4 House seats from Republican control to Democrats.
Yep, there you go. It will. It will, certainly this year. Now, the Virginia gerrymander is a temporary one. When the next census happens, it will revert back to the independent commission they had, and that will then do it in a less gerrymandered way. But make no mistake, Virginia just gerrymandered, but that's because they responded, and it had really, Republican Supreme Court says this is okay now, which of course people were fighting against for years, but hoisted on their own petard. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Chris Rabb, DSA-backed candidate for Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district. It's about 4 or 5 people running in that primary. and it happens soon. So, and then later in the program, Katie Blankenship, immigration attorney from the Sanctuary of the South, discussing the abuses at Alligator Alcatraz. And then Lindsey Boylan, running for New York City's 3rd District Council. Generally, we don't go this local with races, but Lindsey Boylan was a very early supporter of Mamdani's and very helpful to his campaign. And we're looking for people who are going to help Mamdani achieve his goals in the city, because that's important nationally. We'll talk to them in a moment. A couple words from our sponsors. You know that feeling when you walk out of a doctor's office and you think, wow, they made me feel so much better. The right doctor can make you feel lighter, clearer, even more hopeful. I've had a great doctor for 25 years. I was very lucky. I found one when I first came to New York, and he's been my doctor ever since. But he's getting up there. Don't tell him I said so. And so I have been noodling around on ZocDoc, which is where I found a dentist on an emergency. But you can find all sorts of doctors like that on ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find somebody you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Doesn't matter what kind of doctor you're looking for. Dermatologist, dentist, primary care, eye doctor, or one of the other 200 plus specialties that they have on ZocDoc. You can easily search by specialty or by symptoms. And when you're ready, you can see their real-time availability. Click to book an appointment instantly. No haggling with a receptionist, no phone tag, no waiting around. Plus, you find out whether you're in network or out of network, whether they'll take some insurance, etc. Appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments on ZocDoc. I want to thank ZocDoc for sponsoring today's episode. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/majority. Find, instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/majority, ZocDoc.com/majority. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. I'll put the information in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Also, sponsoring today's program, one of my favorite products. Years ago, I was like determined to have less plastic in my home. And then years later, also less plastic in my body. And Blue Land has achieved both of those things for me. Well, I don't know exactly about the body, but my assumption is I got less plastic in my household. Blue Land is basically an array of cleaning products that helps you eliminate single-use plastics forever in your home. No more lugging huge things of dishwashing liquid or laundry detergent or cleaners. They offer cleaning sprays, toilet bowl cleaner, dishwashing tablets, laundry detergent tablets. Blue Land products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands, but their formulas are free from dyes, free from parabens, free from harsh chemicals. It saves you so much space, too. It's also saves you money. They don't pitch that, but it does. Blue Land is in over 1 million homes, including mine and including my office. We've got Blue Land toilet bowl bombs in the bathroom. We've got Blue Land all multi-purpose cleaners. At home, I got Blue Land dishwashing tablets and Blue Land laundry detergent tablets. The stuff is fantastic. And the best thing is, when I need a refill, I got a packet this size, and it's a tablet. I just drop it in. They sell you 3 different cleaning bottles, bathroom cleaner, window cleaner, multi-purpose. 1 tablet, drop it in, fill it with water, shake, and boom, you're done. You save space, you save time, you don't have to shop for it. Just awesome. Blue Land is a certified B Corporation. It is Leaping Bunny cruelty-free certified. Their formulas are EPA Safer Choice certified, and many products have also earned Cradle to Cradle's Gold Material Health Certificate. If you've been thinking about making the switch, now is a great time. Make the switch this Earth Month and get up to 30% off at blueland.com/majority. Blueland.com/majority. Check it out. Quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Chris Rabb, running for Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. It is a pleasure to sort of welcome back to the program. I just found out Chris Rabb. He is Chris Rabb, I should say. He is running for Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District. And Chris, you just reminded me that you were on Break Room Live with Mark Maron and I 20 years ago or so. Yeah. You were a blogger back in that day. Yep. And it seems to me, just when I read about and followed your campaign, that spirit that we had back in that era in terms of like saying that the Democratic Party's way of doing things is antiquated. It's even more antiquated now, yes, sadly, but you're running for that same type of change.
Absolutely. It is a serious progression from the time when I was a political blogger. The blog I had was Afro Netizen. It reached a predominantly Black readership across the country. And I was covering the 2004 Democratic and Republican conventions. And we were the first bloggers to be credentialed in the press corps. Yep. And so it was a big deal. And we were talking about new media. This was before social media, before Insta, all these things. And as a result, it created a lot of conversations about what does participatory journalism look like? How do we hold corporate media to account? And how do we hold the political establishment, particularly the Democratic Party, as we wrestled with what does progressivism look like? And how do those on the outside influence what's happening on the inside?
And so you're running in a district. There's about 4 or 5 other candidates, at least two other like sort of like prominent ones. They are both sort of like ranging from Democratic establishment to just positions that are like the Democratic establishment. Characterize the race for me, because I also have to say what I found really surprising was that in this past quarter, in terms of fundraising, you dramatically outrose the other candidates, which was shocking to me because you're not the Democratic establishment preferred candidate.
Right. Well, you can't buy enthusiasm, right? And so the people who are funding my campaign are regular folks who want a bonus rep in Congress. So 50% of my donors are from out of state, but I have more Philly donors than every candidate combined. I have more small donors than all candidates combined. And I don't take corporate PAC money, which is one of the reasons regular people are giving, because there's this trope that in order to be a viable Democratic candidate, you have to take corporate PAC money. You have to sell out. And I am killing that narrative because it's not true. And in fact, when people see themselves in these campaigns, they're more likely to give, they're more likely to volunteer. So my campaign is fueled by hundreds of volunteers and a level of young people that is like Zoran level. I mean, I'm running for a district that's around 750,000 versus a massive city like New York, but it's the same vibe. People are seeing what's happening around the country and they want to bring that to Philly because this district is the bluest congressional district in the nation. It's number 1 out of 435. And it's the first time in 35 years that there's an open seat. So I don't have to unseat an incumbent in order to win. And unlike so many other primaries, I'm the only progressive in the race. So there's 2 establishment connected candidates who are running for the same votes, where there's a clear lane for me for young voters, disaffected Democrats, new voters, progressive voters, and my base, which is Black super voters, because I currently represent a majority Black mixed income legislative district in the Pennsylvania legislature for the past 10 years.
This is, and I'm glad you mentioned that about the district being the bluest in the country. I didn't realize it was the bluest in the country, but the point being that the primary is essentially the general election.
There are no Republicans on the. There are no Republicans on the.
Oh, I didn't realize there wasn't even anybody running.
I just found out yesterday.
Okay, and so this is the general election, and when we think about the bluest districts in the country, they should be represented by the most progressive, most to the left, the most democratic Democrat that you can get. And it seems to me that across the board, in terms of just like sheer representation, both from a national perspective and you know, there's no polling data per se on your particular district on issues, or at least that I'm aware of. But just on the question of our policy towards Gaza, this is a stark difference that came out at your candidate forum, I guess the other night or so, where there was a refusal. I mean, the idea that we can't be critical of Israel because we should be concerned about hurting the Israelis' feelings seems to me, I feel like we're a little past that point. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is really hard to process because it's so problematic on so many levels. But one of my opponents accused me of yelling genocide from the rooftops and how that is deeply offensive, and that she assigns it to the N-word. And this is a fellow Black Democrat running for office. And in one moment, she offended Black people and Jewish people on the right side of the issue, and everyone else who understands what genocide is. And a part of that has a lot to do with how these campaigns are funded, right? So I can speak freely because my biggest donor, Sam, is my mommy. All right, literally, that's important. Like my average donation is $100, $118. Hers is closer to $800. And she and my other opponent are only getting money from wealthy insiders and benefiting from dark money, super PACs that are connected to AIPAC. And so that's why neither of them, one of whom is Muslim, will not talk about these issues. Yes, I'm the only candidate who will acknowledge the ongoing genocide in Gaza. They will talk around it. They will talk about war crimes. They'll talk about humanitarian aid, ceasefire, but they cannot say genocide. And I think it's important for people to understand that if you are compromised as a candidate and you cannot say oligarchy, patriarchy, systemic racism, if you can't even say the words, how are you going to do the thing in Congress when that's what people want to hold us to account to address?
I think that has become aside from like the fact that the majority of Democrats in the country now have the same perception of what's going on, because I mean, it's frankly the reality of it. But I think the reason why that has become such a litmus test in these races is exactly as you say, because it's indicative of who can be bought and who is willing to get in front of people and deny reality for their funding. And that's a real problem with our entire political system, but particularly, for your congressperson, because you want that person, I voted for politicians who I don't agree with on issue, but you want that person to be able to articulate reality. If they can't say the sun is shining when they walk out the door at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, you can't rely on them for anything.
That's precisely right. So on this campaign trail, and I've been running since July, when I meet young people in particular, and they've never heard of me, I tell them my positions, I show my energy and all of that. They're like, great, but how do I know you're not the next F word? And the F word in Pennsylvania is Fetterman. How do I know you're not the next Fetterman? Because he broke people's hearts. There were so many people who were on board because they believed the cosplay that he did so well as a progressive, when in fact, he never really was. And so I say to them, you have an absolute right to be skeptical of folks running for office who have not yet earned your trust. I said, but the difference between a Fetterman and me is that I've had 10 years in the legislature. I've taken thousands of votes. I've introduced hundreds of bills. Where I stand on issues has been documented for actually well over a decade, since I was a political blogger and I talked about where I stood on issues going back 25 years, op-eds. I wrote a book in 2010 talking about structural inequality and entrepreneurship. So I have receipts. He has tweets. Those aren't enough. Just because you control Donald Trump and whomever does not mean you know how to lead or govern or do the people's work. And so that tends to get people on board. But young people, to your point, have said, the first thing they say is, where are you on Gaza? And they're pleasantly surprised when I say, we need a free Palestine. We need to end sending money to Israel. We need to do all those things. They're like, okay, check. And then they say, where are you on ICE? And I said, well, we have to abolish ICE, but that's just the starting point. We also have to dismantle the immigrant concentration camps that exist, which were created with bipartisan complicity. This all was spawned even before, after 9/11, this was spawned under Clinton's administration, when he basically criminalized brown immigration in 1996. And we have to take our lumps. So it's one thing to fight Donald Trump. That's easy, fighting Agent Orange. It's fun. He's such a great villain. But we also have to hold our own party to account. And I am not accountable to my party. I'm accountable to the people who I seek to represent in Congress.
You are just some what you write as core guarantees on your platform. You're talking about you support Medicare for all, obviously protect reproductive freedom. Tell me about your housing first model.
Yeah. Look, we have everything we need to house everyone. We do not need to have this housing crisis that is facilitated by private equity and private real estate developers. We need to invest $1 trillion to make sure we have 12 million new homes. We need to repair the ones that people are living in now, and we have to hold housing as a human right. And I understand for a lot of people saying, oh, that's pie in the sky, that's bold, you're pandering to folks who are not really grounded in reality. But reality is somehow we have money to send to Iran to bomb civilians. We always have money for endless war. And yet the things that are considered radical in the United States are considered banal in other industrialized nations. So sending someone from the bluest congressional district in the nation to just affirm and advocate for certain things being basic rights and needs that are taken care of by our government seems like the appropriate thing to do right now. It's in the midst of the greatest adversity where we have to find the greatest light to guide us to a path where we can have these things. people thought Obamacare couldn't happen, and it didn't happen with any Republican votes, right? But even that was negotiating against ourselves. We could have had we're not going to go over that again.
Oh,
but
you and I remember the Joe Liebermans and the, yes.
We can do Medicare for all, and I'm proud to say that Congresswoman Jayapal, who introduced that bill in the House, endorsed me. I think we have to, in these moments, acknowledge that we can walk and chew gum at the same time and understand we can restore cuts that were made in the Trump administration. But we also have a post-Trump agenda that is not about going back to normal, because normal never really helped working people and communities of struggle. They were struggling long before the pandemic. So what is a transformative vision of our nation when we need it the most? If we're only starting to talk about it after some aggressively mediocre Democrat follows Donald Trump, we've lost. We've lost, so we got to do that work now.
Chris, I love what you're saying, and just the idea that the bluest district in the country should have the most progressive candidate in the race. I mean, that just seems like a no-brainer to me. And I just heard too that you were endorsed by the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
You.
So there's real momentum here behind your campaign. When is the primary?
May 19th.
So we are just weeks away. What could our audience do? Obviously, people can go to your website, which is
chrisrabb.com.
chrisrabb.com. That's 2 B's.
Yes.
And people who are, from across the country, I suppose, can support you by sending donations. But what about getting people on the ground? I assume you're looking for volunteers.
Absolutely. So if you go to chrisrabb.com, that's RABB, chrisrabb.com, you can volunteer remotely. So if you know people in Philly, you don't have to come to Philly. You can actually reach out to those folks, and we can train you how to do that in webinars that we have, so that you can stay home in your bunny slippers watching TV or whatever, and reach out to the folks in your phone who are eligible Democratic voters, because in Pennsylvania, only registered Democrats can vote in the Democratic primary on May 19th. We also want to make sure that we lift up this campaign, because look, this is a national race. If people need to remember that bad politicians are elected by good people who don't vote. And so they have to see themselves in these races. I'm not just running to support the 760,000 fellow Philadelphians here in this district. I'm running to be your next bonus rep. We need good folks. We need more public servants, Sam, and fewer politicians. And that's an important distinction, because politicians are folks who serve themselves and moneyed interests. Public servants are people who serve the people and the public good. And those are very different types of elected officials. So if you care about the future of our country, you care to make sure that when we take back the House in November, that we know how to lead and listen to the people on the ground and people closest to the pain to do the type of work that folks have been wanting for a really long time. And that means investing in candidates like me, who originally were not considered viable, but now, I'm tied for first place. I'm raising more money than folks who are getting support from AIPAC and from establishment insiders. This is our time to organize, and we need your help across the country.
Chris Rabb, so great to talk to you again. I hope that I talk to you sooner than 20 years from now, and I hope it's much sooner. And I hope that you have become the next representative of Pennsylvania's 3rd District. Really appreciate your time today. Good luck. We will put a link to chrisrabb.com at majority.fm and in the podcast and YouTube description. Good luck, and we'll be looking forward to just a couple of weeks away.
That's right. Thanks so much, Sam.
All right. Great to see you. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Chris Rabb had mentioned the detention centers around the country. Our next guest is an attorney from Sanctuary of the South. It's a grassroots legal service that provides legal defense to immigrant families affected by detention And specifically, she's got clients down at Alligator Alcatraz. We'll be right back after this. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. Pleasure to welcome to the program Katherine Blankenship. She is an immigration attorney from Sanctuary of the South, a grassroots legal service organization that provides representation and support and consult to immigrant families who are all under siege. Now we are a year and a half more, I guess a year and a half or so into the Trump administration. I think people are certainly aware of the immigrant onslaught. I mean, in its various forms. But you have had a lot of work with the detention side of it. Obviously, as an immigration attorney, you're going to see that. Just give us a brief overview of that end of things, and we'll get to the sort of the roving bands of ICE and CPB. But the detention side, I think, is one that is less publicized.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to start. And Sam, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much for covering it. Yeah, you know, that's actually the problem, really, of where we start, that the public has not understood the detention crisis that's existed well before Donald Trump. This has been a broken and abusive system since its creation. Now, Donald Trump.
When was that created? Chris Rabb, we just had a guest on who's running for Congressional District in 3rd. And he said, you know, we're going back to the Clinton years where a lot of these detention centers were set up, and almost the advent of private prison complex.
That's exactly right. So I think if memory serves, we started opening ICE detention centers in the late 80s at some point. I mean, this is a new thing, right? You and I have both been on the planet before ICE detention centers. But they took off quite literally because of the money that is inherent in them. You know, we talk about following the money in the private prison complexes. That applies to immigration. Geo Group, Core Civic, they're laughing all the way to the bank with the Trump administration. But it's not just them. There is money flowing to all of these vendors, whether it's an ICE facility or what's called an intergovernmental services agreement, like when a county runs it. Everybody's getting rich off these detention centers and their facilities of human suffering.
People who are supposedly providing the food, phone calls, whatever it is. I mean, I distinctly remember, and people can go back, I'm sure, and find this with an easy search, around 2010, maybe it was, you could go into the shareholder meetings, and these places like you say, Geo Group and the Core Civic, they were saying to their shareholders, we project our profits in the future to be out of like civil prisoners, or I guess prisoners, citizen prisoners, and move into the immigration space. I mean, so that gives you a sense of like I was just like wondering, like, how could they project at that time? And this may be outside of your portfolio as somebody who's dealing with it where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, on the ground, sure.
But like, how did they know? Right? Like in 2010, like how did they know? Now, maybe they got those signals from Obama, because Obama certainly was deporting a lot of people. I don't know how much he was growing the detention part of it, but they were out there spending millions to make sure that this type of situation showed up.
Yeah. And let's put it in perspective for all your listeners, right? American taxpayers are paying approximately $200 a day per person. The most recent quote of the people in ICE detention right now is 70,000. When we started this, when we were in the Biden years, right? Even in the first Trump administration, that number usually hangs around 13,000. 20,000 was a lot. We're at a place of exponential growth in hugely abusive centers that's going straight to the pockets of, our 1%. But how did they know? There's several things that are happening, right? One, frankly, the American system has figured out that carceral systems are highly profitable for a long time. They're taking their lead from the criminal justice system. Two, as soon as we started opening detention centers, as soon as we had the emergence of ICE, people need to understand ICE is new. When we talk about abolish ICE, it's not that radical. They haven't been around that long, and they screwed it up horribly. So get rid of them. Like you and I, again, we were teenagers when ICE was created.
Well, sadly, I was a little bit older than that, but you may have been.
I was but a mere babe.
Yes, I, on the other hand, was well into my 30s. But go ahead.
Well, all right. So we're talking around 2003-ish, right? When Congress makes the first allotment to ICE. Well, what does that tell everybody that's in the business of incarcerated systems? And where is that budget gone? That initial budget was around $3 million. We're looking at $45 million from the big, beautiful bill. And where that money is going? That money is going to those who profit off incarcerating human beings. And you mentioned civil detention, Sam. That's a huge piece. I have so many people who don't understand the system because the anti-immigrant propaganda machine started to be able to fuel these centers, right? And so what do people say in response to me when they see this picture of my client beaten half to death? Oh, he's a criminal. Send him back to where he's from. He's not in criminal custody, friends. This is civil detention.
Will you explain that difference to people so they really understand? Because I've been saying for years, and I think we are still there in terms of the law, that entering this country illegally, or I should say without documentation, or overstaying a visa is not a criminal offense. It is the functional equivalent of a speeding ticket. And really, like, depending on how much you're speeding,
to cross without inspection is quite literally a Class B misdemeanor. The most time you could ever do that nobody judge will ever even grant time on it is 6 months. A Class B misdemeanor is like public intoxication is the worst you could think of for this sort of offense, right? And plus, it's not even the issue, right? When we talk about the difference of criminal and civil detention, it's critical for people to understand who are these human beings that are detained. Yes, some people may have a criminal record, and they are going through the process of dealing with that in their immigration case. They have served their time, or they've entered a plea, whatever it may be. Everything that had to do with their criminal stuff is done and gone. They're not here for any criminal charge. Plus, this idea, Trump's people love to say we're going to detain the worst of the worst. That is so inhumane and categorizes human beings that are applying for asylum. I have tons of clients who are simple asylum seekers. I have folks getting picked up and detained today with work permission, with driver's license, with social security cards. right? We're talking about members of the community, period, end of story. They're your neighbors.
I want to talk about the brutality that has been going on in these detention centers. But just to put a point on this, when we talk about, because there's obviously been for a long time a certain amount of xenophobia that has been in this country for, since its founding, whether it was about Chinese or Irish or Italian or Japanese or Mexican, whatever it was.
Sure.
This has been exacerbated because there is so much money to be made in this. In 2005, George W. Bush and wanted to essentially bring Latinos into the Republican Party and was looking to do immigration reform. And there was a lot of people who made money, whether it was Mark Levin and Laura Ingraham in particular, and Ann Coulter.
Or just look at Miami, what we call the first wave, right, of Cuban immigrants fleeing from the revolution. That was a huge move from the Republican Party of trying to sign up Latino voters, specifically Cuban voters, and look at the success
they were
had
successful.
Incredibly successful.
And George Bush and Karl Rove knew this was the future of the country, but they were stopped by sort of like the movement conservatives. And that takes us to Tom Homan getting a bag. Now, I should say, this is only the FBI. So I don't know. I'm just going by what the FBI reported. A bag from a fast food restaurant that was full of, maybe it wasn't full, I don't know what the size of the bag was, what bills were, $50,000 from someone, we don't know who, but we know their ilk is someone looking for a contract from DHS, presumably either for a detention facility or many detention facilities, or maybe just to serve, the meals at a detention facility, or provide the phone service, or whatever it is. We're going to wash the linens at them.
Right.
And he got $50,000 cash, basically on the promise of, like, if I get into Homeland Security, which of course at that time he was being touted as being the guy from CPB or from Homeland Security. And it gives us a sense of, like, this is a racket and people are making. All right. So tell us about.
Let me give you one more example now for people, like, look this up. This is all stuff that is easily at our fingertips, right? So people have probably seen in the news the effort by the Trump administration to open human warehouses. They call them warehouses. They want to Amazon, basically, ICE detention. So there's already been some investigative work in looking at those contracts and the spaces that they're purchasing. I think one example was a space was purchased 3 to 4 years ago. This is in northern Florida for around $20 million, okay? The government comes along and purchases it 24 months later for $180 million, right? Like, that's what we're talking about.
And who's his buddy who owns that, right? I mean, come on. This is how he made his money in real estate.
I bet he donated to the Trump administration. I bet they donated to the DeSantis administration. And that takes you out to the Everglades, which we'll talk about in the just atrocity that's happening out there in the Everglades. If you look at the contracts of those facilities, because it's quote unquote state run, which is a whole other basket of, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But those contractors, most of them are not showing experience actually in the carceral system. And if you look at the corporate records of where they donated, they're sending buckets of money to DeSantis.
I have no doubt. I bet you they're contributing to they're buying shares in Trump meme coins or this is such a racket. But the worst part of it, aside from the fact that it's a fleecing, is the human suffering that is generating these profits for people. Tell us about your experience with that.
Well, I've been in these centers for a long time, predating Donald Trump. And like I said, this has always been a system that we have been fighting. You know, I've been an abolitionist of ICE detention since starting this work for very good reason. But what we're seeing now is a true human rights crisis. So more people have died in ICE custody and in the Trump administration than we have record of a president. And we're talking about a year and a half. All right. I have clients who have died in ICE detention. And when I look at the medical records and see what happened to my clients, it is atrocious. It is gross medical neglect. I have a client who seized out in his dorm having a massive seizure. They said he looks drunk and left him alone and did not get him to emergency services for another 4.5 hours. He was brain dead when they took him to the hospital. He was 44 years old, fleeing the war in Ukraine. Now, and then you talk about the overall inhumane conditions and treatment. So again, going out to the Everglades, I will not call that place what they call it Alligator Alcatraz because it's disgusting. It is the Everglades internment camp, and it is an absolutely abusive center that is operating with impunity and abusing people. I just had released and filed a declaration in a case about this facility that's around First Amendment access to counsel, and showed the court the beatings that my clients took for absolutely, you know, there's no reason to beat anyone ever, but completely unprovoked regardless. People are crammed into literal cages. The facilities are disgusting. The toilets overflow. They live amongst sewage. They're giving fed portions of food that multiple clients tell me, Katie, it looks like what you serve a baby in a baby jar. They're losing weight by the just pounds by the day. And they institute a level of corporal punishment that I think most Americans wouldn't believe happens on our soil, and it is happening. They're taking people outside the Everglades, putting them into shackles and leaving them in the sun as punishment without access to food and water, and just saying, stand there shackled. In the Everglades, Sam, with the mosquitoes, with the conditions, with the heat, I mean, it's really atrocious. And my client that I had shared with the court and that was released in the press, that I go, when they took him out and beat him so severely, in the picture that you may have seen, excuse me, you know, I talked to him 8 days later and he looks like that. Oh. He didn't get medical care. And right now, as we are speaking, he is sitting in what they call the box. They took him straight to solitary for no reason, which is a 2x2 meter cage. And when he came to me last Friday, he said, I have to sit for a minute because I'm too dizzy. I haven't seen the sun in 8 days.
And I think this is the thing that people don't understand, that this system of detention, and I think we maybe explained it in terms of like the money that's being made there. Are your clients, because I've heard stories of clients who have every legal right to be in this country. They've either have work permits, or they're in line for citizenship or whatever it is, but they get thrown into these, they're in detention center and they're just like, this is torture. I'm literally being tortured. And I'm going to just go to them and say, I want to deport. And I've heard stories where they're not even letting people do that, to self-deport.
So we haven't even gotten to the actual immigration court system in detention, right? So most most people who are in detention, they go to court, it's a court in a detention center. And what has happened to the immigration space in court is a whole other level of torture. So we started the Trump administration with the Lake and Riley Act, right? The Lake and Riley Act was an attempt to lock up as many people as possible, regardless of what the background of the charge. You didn't have to have probable cause. It was just like, if anybody's ever mentioned you did XYZ crime, you go to detention, you can't leave. You're mandatorily detained. Then they killed humanitarian parole. There's only two ways you can get out of ICE detention typically when your case is pending: humanitarian parole from ICE or bond from an IJ, an immigration judge, right? Humanitarian parole has been an option for immigrants in detention since detention centers started. Trump killed it. It doesn't exist. They will not grant it. I've had people on their deathbed. They won't grant it. Bond, destroyed. They killed bond. There's a case called Yahuri Hurtado from the BIA that says the only people that are eligible for bond are those that were on a visa and overstayed and had no other infraction for the time they were here. That is millions of people that would previously be bond eligible. So the system right now is intended to keep them there, keep them there, keep them there, keep them there. And why do we think that is? Because the conversation we just had. Because the longer they're there, $200 a day, just keep it in your head, right? $200 a day.
I mean, that's
somebody who's good at math. Tell us.
I don't. What is that? Like 1.5, or is that 15 million a day? It's just astonishing. I'd love to have you back on. We can talk more about this. So what can be done at this point? Like, I mean, or I should say, what we saw in Minnesota, it obviously sort of like made it harder for ICE to be in urban centers where there is a higher concentration of media. I've talked to reporters who say, like, in the rural areas, ICE is still working. They're still out there. These people have not gone away. And so the problem is maybe slightly less intense out there because there's only so many people, you know, without the density, it's harder for them to arrest at the same rates they were doing before.
Well, and we have to consider the thousands and thousands of people across the United States in hiding too that have seen this.
Yes,
I mean there are families living like it's like extreme COVID again, right? That's how they're living. Windows.
Right. I mean, it's like it's Anne Frank. You know, we've talked to people in Minneapolis who are like, this is like an Anne Frank situation, where we have families hiding other families in their homes. They don't leave because they can't go to work. They can't go to school. On the back end, though, like I've seen, and I think we've talked to a couple of people who have organized against the purchase of a warehouse for a detention center, and we're hearing more and more about pushback from localities.
Some success.
Yes, and seeing some success. But it does feel like it's, you know, a couple of small victories in this sort of like almost this tidal wave that's coming in.
Yeah.
What else, from your perspective, can be done on this back end? I mean, like we just saw in Florida, the Fifth Circuit, notoriously right-wing court, deem that the federal government somehow had no involvement in the establishment of the Everglades internment camp, which of course is absurd. I mean, on its face, it's absurd. It would not exist, but for the federal government saying,
"Yep,
build an internment camp here."
They're in federal custody. Give me a break.
I mean, it's absurd. And so in red states, it becomes that much harder, I would imagine, because the political will is we want to lock these people up. But from your perspective, like, and outside, and I can't encourage people enough to support an organization like yours. There are many. And, you know, because obviously, you know, having known knowing a couple of immigration attorneys, it's like it's like triage of what's going on now in a war zone. And but so what else can we do? Like hearing this, what else can we do? Obviously, you know, we'll put a link to Sanctuary of the South, and we can feature others. But what else can we do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there are major lessons and hope to be gleaned from Minnesota. You know, one of the warehouses you're talking about that's been prevented is in Florida. That's crazy, right? That's Florida coming out and showing that the citizens of Florida do not align with the DeSantis philosophy and the Trump philosophy. So we have real roadmap of saying that resistance can work. But the reality that people need to understand is that Trump started with immigration and this authoritarian surge for a reason. Because one, it's primed already. We've already talked about why. Abusive system, highly profitable, et cetera, right? But the other thing is he has complete control here. The immigration system is under the executive. So you have to understand, he really gets to, in large measure, go forward as he desires. So it's very hard legally to push back holistically, right? So we have to take the fight to the street as we have. We have to continue pushing where you are in your communities, find people who are organizing, support your communities, and figure out a way to get involved. I guarantee you that there are people that are involved. Reach out to us if you need connections. But we also have to understand that what we're seeing and what we're doing now is laying a framework for the future. All right. We will be at a point where we're past the Trump administration. All right. We may all be so exhausted we can't stand by then, but it will happen and generations will come behind us. And by getting the public engaged in this issue, in what has been an abusive immigration system and into a complete humanitarian crisis under the Trump regime, we can change the system. We can defund ICE. We can abolish ICE. We can change detention centers. We can shut them down. So we have to keep this pressure up. And then the last thing I'd say is absolutely, yes, you've got to figure out where to support folks. So one of the things that's happening for firms, organizations like mine for serving people in detention, the people in detention are squeezed in every way. They are targeted. So the breadwinners of families are detained or in hiding. So expecting them to figure out in this crisis while they're targeted to just, find any funds they can is near impossible. So people are just dying inside for legal representation. So help them fund that legal representation. We have clients that will sometimes be, work with the church. A local community gets together and funds somebody's habeas case, right, to get them out. So there are ways to support. And the last thing I would say is that it's really critical for people to understand who have been involved in this issue of what is happening in the nonprofit immigration space, all right? So Sanctuary of the South is very intentionally not a 501c3 because we started this knowing that the immigration nonprofits are going to come under major attack. Most have received cease and desist letters. Most have been defunded. You may have seen the SPLC just was indicted, right? And so we've done this very intentionally, and we're not, this is becoming something that people are expecting and filling a desperate gap. So give to these organizations, right? SOS does pro bono and low bono work. That means we do reduced rates on payment plans. We do everything to work with people. And so we need support. We rely on community support for that. So check us out. Go to our GoFundMe. It's on the website. And there are other folks in your community doing this work. And we need folks to just get out from the screen and get involved.
Is there a clearinghouse site that gives us a sense of like different regional organizations like yours?
Yeah, so there's a few resources that I think people should reach out to find what's going on in your community, and firms and organizations like mine. Look for your ACLU affiliate, right? They're not taking that work necessarily, but they are plugged into whatever local coalition is there. So whatever state you're in has an ACLU affiliate, just reach out, say, plug me in. Who do you know is the grassroots? Who's doing the grassroots work, right? There's also Freedom for Immigrants has a really great website that not only helps track folks in detention and detention centers, but also organizations that are working in this space. So I'd send people to those two places initially. And there's also the American Immigration Council that has a great information.
Great.
And we'd love to, get an email that says, I want to get involved, and we'll find you somebody. The immigrants' rights world, we work throughout the entire Southeast. It's frankly a small community. It shouldn't be. We need to be much bigger. But frankly, if you need somebody in some state, we can probably find somebody for you.
All right. Well, we're going to put all those links in the podcast and YouTube description, as well as on majority.fm. Katie, thank you so much for the work you're doing. I know it's tireless and very, I would imagine, like very emotionally taxing to see this type of just sort of wanton suffering. And really appreciate you coming on to talk to us and the work you're doing.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to be here.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our final guest of the day, Lindsey Boylan. She is a candidate for New York City Council's 3rd District on the west side of Manhattan, and a local race, but as I think people appreciate, as Mamdani does, so hopefully do the rest of the country. I've got to work on that. We'll be right back.
Patrick.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. Want to welcome back to the program Lindsey Boylan. She is a candidate for New York City's Council, 3rd District, the west side of Manhattan. Recently earned the endorsement of Zohran Mamdani. Lindsey, welcome back to the program. The last time we were here, you were talking about in support of Mamdani, but particularly also about your experience with Andrew Cuomo, a long time, I don't want to say bête noir of ours here, but I was very, very, very happy to see him lose that race and hopefully exit New York and, frankly, American politics. He threatened to move to Florida. He didn't do it, which is too bad. But I will still help with a ticket if he needs one. But now you're running for a city council. Tell us why.
You know, I think this is the most important time to get involved in New York City's municipal politics and government. We just elected a mayor to shake things up, to fight for people, center our most vulnerable. And as you mentioned, I was particularly involved in supporting him. And this seat opened up, and there's no more important time to join that fight. And the mayor needs a city council to support this shift that New Yorkers hired him to do. And New Yorkers need someone who's going to fight both against Trump and all of the egregious things he's trying to do, and fight for affordability and all the things that we just elected Zohran Mamdani to do. And this is an important moment and an important seat, because I will be the 25th member of the Progressive Caucus, and that will really enable us to move this agenda forward in a lot of meaningful ways, budget, legislatively speaking.
I just want to get a little bit granular with that in terms of, like, I don't think people realize how many people are on the New York City Council.
51.
It's and so 25 progressive members. We're coming in there to sort of, like, I mean, obviously, Mamdani has a huge political movement behind him in a way that I don't think, frankly, in the 34, I don't know, the several decades that I've been living in New York, let's put it that way. I don't recall any mayor having a movement behind them. I mean, there were people, like, you know, at one time or another, like, I like Bloomberg, and it was sort of like, maybe they would say it sort of like sheepishly because they were, but Giuliani was not very popular until after 9/11. De Blasio, no mayor has been terribly popular. Even when they got elected, they were marginally elected. But Mamdani has the ability to mobilize people, and this has come into play with both the city's deficit and the idea of raising revenue from the rich. Like, give me a sense of how you imagine this is going to play out. We have a city council speaker of the city council who has been pushing back on raising taxes on wealthy people, and coincidentally has something like a 25,000 square foot house in the Hamptons, or that is her husband.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're right. And this incredible support, groundswell support across the board that the mayor has enabled him to move things forward, I think, in record time. The universal childcare pilot, the pied-à-terre tax, those are things that would be huge accomplishments for a mayoralty over time. And he has been able to do this because of the groundswell of support that he has. And I think that that's what I'm door knocking. We're up to almost, I'd say myself, particularly 3,000 doors, and people believe in what he's trying to do. They believe in the direction he is taking this city. They believe in fighting for affordability, whether we're talking about housing, we're talking about worker protections, we're talking about the public realm, we're talking about all of the disability justice, we're talking about all the things that he is focused on, and people want him to deliver on that. And I think with 25 members of the Progressive Caucus, it's going to be really hard to fight that. It's part of a broader movement. And it's because people are fed up. And in this district, people tend to view the 3rd district from 55th down to Spring Street as a wealthy one because it's in Manhattan. But I got to tell you, almost half of our people are struggling in a very serious way. They're severely rent burdened. It's very hard to stay in this district. And people want to see more of what the mayor has been talking about in terms of housing justice for all, holding bad landlords accountable, building a next generation of social housing, protections to keep people in their homes, all of the things that led to the pied-à-terre tax. This is all happening right now. And it's a very exciting time to be in city politics, particularly in opposition to all of the terrible things that are happening at the federal level and all of the ways that very intentionally our federal government is creating a system that breaks down government so it doesn't work. We're doing the opposite here, and the mayor is leading that charge.
How much is the conversation? I mean, obviously, you were a big supporter of Mamdani's, and you've been around the sort of the development of this administration. How much consciousness is there, aside from obviously providing material benefits for people in the city and the things you've just been talking about, but how much of there is the awareness that success in New York City is going to spread in a way that, particularly in this era, but because of the profile of Mamdani, because of a bunch of different factors, that success or failure in New York is going to have implications for people, whether they live in Chicago or in Peoria or, across the country. I can only name 2 cities.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
It's hard I think it would be hard not to recognize the influence and the amount of people across the country and the world who are watching this administration. I was just in a conversation in a Hell's Kitchen walk-up talking to someone about how the whole world is watching and how much hope there is because of this election. And so I think that's very clear. I think the mayor does a very good job at always bringing it back home to New Yorkers. As he said in the many questions and the debates, he's here to be mayor of New York City, not another location. He's not going other places. And so I think, I wouldn't want to speak for his administration, but I think that they would say they're squarely focused on New York, but they're obviously aware. I think we're all aware of how many people are watching. Just when there's a collaborative video, him supporting our campaign and our fight, the response I get is not just in New York, but across the globe and across the country. And, people view New York's mayor as their mayor. And I think that's a powerful thing. And I'll just say on that front, as someone who's been in government for a very long time in the bureaucracy at the state level, I think he's made some incredibly intelligent choices about his appointments. He's put both activists and people who have built their careers organizing and have the credibility, let's say, in housing tenant movement. And then at the same time, people have built their career working in the bureaucratic system. So this combination of someone who's hired people and brought people into power who know what they're doing, know how to navigate bureaucracy, but also are there in part to shake it up. And I think you see that in all of the appointments that he's made. And I think it's brilliant. I've worked with many of those folks, both on the organizing side and the bureaucratic side. And I think that will continue to play out in terms of his ability to succeed and the administration's ability to succeed.
So this is for the 3rd district. It is a special election, which I would think makes the Mamdani's endorsement that much more powerful because, the idea of people and it's next week. And so, right. I mean, that's my point is that a lot of times, obviously it's, I'm not in that district, but so this is really about turnout and it's about getting the word out for people who live there. How can people who are in that district, or maybe, they live in Brooklyn or they live in the Bronx or Queens, Staten Island, or other districts in Manhattan want to get involved? How do they do that?
They can go onto our website. There's a whole volunteer platform. We have canvases pretty much every day. We have 2 different big phone bankings this week. Very exciting. There's an and a countless number of ways to get involved. You can always, of course, donate. We love to have people volunteer because we are going to win this race based on field, based on meeting every New Yorker where they are in the district. We've already built that platform. We've already built the organization with our team to be able to do this work. And so anyone who wants to come and volunteer, we can welcome you in. And that's really how we're going to win. This isn't really about me. This is about all of us collectively. This is about the movement that was very much at play in the mayor's race. We have people who volunteered from the beginning.
Nope. We just lost her. I think you get the point, though. Hopefully she'll be back in. Is she back in? Oh, Lindsey, she seems to be sort of there.
Nope.
Now she's out.
Okay. Well, hopefully she's going to jump back in. Brian, what is Lindsey's website?
LindseyforNYC.com.
And that is
FOR.
Oh, there she is. She's back. Okay. Well, I was going to say, you had this great build up on people volunteering, and we didn't get the name of the website.
LindseyforNYC.com. And it's a lot of fun, I have to tell you. I have people who've volunteered. We have people who volunteered always, and we have people doing it for the first time. And don't underestimate yourself, because some of my mom friends, they came and said, Lindsey, it's not really my thing, but I'll do it because I love you. And they were better than I am, you know? So we want everyone who wants to be a part of this campaign to be a part of it. That is the whole idea behind the movement. That we are some piece of a much broader movement. And we want everyone to help. We want everyone to be a part of this win. We are very hopeful. We are very excited. And we know change needs to come. I mean, this fight for people who are struggling in the city and the fight back against everything happening at the federal level. We haven't talked about the attacks on our immigrant communities, ICE operating in the city. We haven't talked about the attacks on our LGBTQIA plus community, the attacks and the horrible way that some of our biggest institutions are baying in advance by stopping gender affirming care. We're going to fight back against that. And this is the district to do it. This is the time to do it. And this is the race where people can be a part of that.
So it's Lindsey for New York?
NYC.
NYC.
Yes.
LINDSEY, the number 4.
Yes.
No.
And
it's FOR.
No, it's
FOR.
FOR.
Yeah. Yes, excuse me.
We're going to put it in our podcast YouTube description, and we'll get that right.
Are you already part of the team? It's a volunteer effort.
There we go. Lindsey Boylan, good luck next week. Really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to come back on again. And thank you for talking about the race. And we want everyone to be involved in it. This is a really important moment for New York City.
Hey, we will link to that website that I can't actually spell. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. That's it for this part of the show.
That was a gauntlet for you, huh?
That was a tough one.
Like
that was a
Radio
tough
Row.
one. Yeah. Oh, you mean the 3 guests?
Just boom, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah. It's like the old days.
Just some other city council news. Looks like Chi Ose, another city council member from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn here, has been released from custody. He was arrested with 4 others in a deed theft sort of protest in Bed-Stuy. So probably talk more on that tomorrow, but the images are pretty crazy.
But you know, the deed theft thing is fascinating. There's some failure points apparently in the deed system, where people are going in and sort of figuring out a way to steal, essentially to like transfer people's deeds and end up like owning people's houses, I guess. I don't know exactly how it does. I did a guy I knew, Ross Broccoli, I guess he was a friend at the time. He was a friend at the time. We're not in touch so much anymore. He wrote a movie about something like that, but that was like 25 years ago. But it's happening now. But we'll get more information on that. And
it makes me think of David Dayen's book, Chain of Title, which people should. It's one of the best books to read about the financial crisis from the mortgage sort of bundling financialization side of it, where all these banks started bundling these mortgages together and these financial assets, and it turned out they didn't know who owned anything.
Well, what they started doing was in lieu of, I mean, the whole property transfer process is done in a very deliberate fashion so that you don't have confusion. And they started robo-signing the sort of like underlying asset to their securitized loans. And, you know, because you would pass the first lien on essentially to the next person as you would sell these huge tranches of loans that theoretically had first in line to own the house in the event they go into foreclosure. And you're not supposed to do that. And they robo-signed all of this. Like there were different people like, yeah, my name is Jim. And, but for the company, my name is Lawrence. And I signed 5,000 of these things. I mean, it was crazy.
And
but,
we totally dealt with all that stuff. So everything's good now, apparently.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're all good. All right.
Sorted itself out.
Yeah. Folks, it's your support that makes the show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the IMS and the fun half. And even more importantly, you keep the show surviving and thriving. Jointhemajorityreport.com. Jointhemajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop. Fair trade coffee. Hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority. You get 10% off. It's great coffee. It's a co-op. They're great to their growers. And you can get the Majority Report blend. And you can get 10% off. Win, win, win. Probably actually 4 wins. Maybe 5. Win, win.
You'll be sick of winning.
Win, win. So much
You're
win.
so sick. You're going to say, I'm tired of winning. Stop winning. I'm going to say, no, you're going to keep winning.
You're struggling against the winning. And I'm going to pin you down and make you win.
That's the thing is I went back to watch that clip and it is alarming how much of a rapist statement it is. It
Totally.
is like, you're going to say we don't want to win anymore. I'm like, you got to win.
No. You're going to, and you're going to love it.
Nothing you can do about it.
Matt,
just accept it.
Speaking about nothing we can do about it, and we're going to love it. What's happening in the Matt Like Media universe?
Well, we actually talked a little bit about sexual violence with Kylie Chung on Left Reckoning yesterday, and this thing called the Pink Pill Pipeline, which is right-wingers, including like Heritage Foundation agendas seeking to limit access to the pill, using influencers, apolitical influencers, and sort of lifestyle and celebrity content online as a Trojan horse. And we also talked with Matt McManus about the right, specifically the right wing, which is honest about the fact that they want to kill Socrates because he's a rabble-rouser. So very interesting. We're getting really into ideas with Matt McManus there. So check that out, patreon.com/leftreckoning. That's available on YouTube and Twitch.
Great. See you in the fun half. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false. No, I'm sorry. Women's.
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports. We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
God.
I'm gonna go Starlight.
Libertarians.
They're so stupid, though.
Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge Mac.
I'm positively quivering.
I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-3501. 1/2. 3 8s.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
6, 5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
Call it satire. Sam goes to satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the weak being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
And back.
Hi, folks. We're back. It is the fun half, and I'm being corrected from the first half of the program already on the IMs by annoying pendant. Sam, you said Tom Homan got a fast food bag full of cash. Kava is in fact fast casual, not fast food.
What's the difference?
I don't know. I've never heard of Kava. Why am I the only person? Is this Kava in New York?
There is, yeah. I haven't been to it either, though.
I've never seen it.
I ate in a Kava in Penn Station recently.
Science is political. What's with the chronic online leftist who farms outrage on AOC as a personality? I would like her to be more vocal and endorse primary candidates, but people are acting like she's Dan Golden because she hasn't. I don't get it. I mean, I think like some of it is sincere, right? Like a lot of people have invested a lot of their hopes for the future in AOC, and it's inevitable that as a politician, she's not going to measure up at times. There are others who I think are who really resent any type of electoralism or any type of like change within the system. And so she represents a threat to them because she represents the opportunity for actual change to happen, not revolutionary change, granted, but significant change. And that runs against their project. And then I think like, you know, there's always a baseline, regardless of who it is, and what their politics are of misogyny. I think more pronounced than, frankly, racism across the board. And it becomes an easier target for people than someone similarly positioned who is a man. But I think the first two are really the most prominent. And then sometimes it gets sprinkled in with the other stuff.
And I think the recent stuff about the endorsement with Shoykat, like if he was DSA endorsed, I'd feel differently about that. But I think it's sort of on the candidates to get the endorsements. And I think it's more important criticism of AOC to be made about, you know, when she was making the distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. I would keep it to that rather than this endorsement stuff. I don't know. I think
the endorsement stuff sort of baffles me because the people who are criticizing her are often people who are demanding she maintain a certain lane. And the message I get from this at this point, and maybe she endorses him by the end, is that like she has some questions, and she may be supportive of him, but maybe she doesn't want to necessarily be given credit for his election, right? But doesn't necessarily want to hurt his election. Also, people have to keep this in mind. Endorsements from people like AOC or Bernie Sanders, it also usually involves providing of resources. It may be money, it may be email lists, it may be fundraising. So it's not just a question of like, this is not like this isn't as sort of like thrown off as it's an asset. And you want it to be protected, and maybe you want to save it for races that you think are A, most politically aligned with yours, B, where the marginal difference between the candidate you would endorse and who would otherwise win is significant, right? And C, you want to make sure that person is like going to be consistent and going to be a reliable ally for you in the future. And so there's all sorts of things I think that, but in general, I think like, there was a lot of wrangling, rancor about AOC endorsing Mamdani too, wasn't there? I seem to remember like people like, why haven't you done it sooner? And traditionally she does it later where she can actually, particularly in a campaign where, people are mobilizing, that's what you want. Somebody to come in and make a material difference, not just have an imprimatur. We're okay.
Should we get a little bit spiritual?
Yeah, I lost where we were. Oh, yeah, this is, I am not the most spiritual of people, but there are times where I realize I want to feel grounded. I'm also not Christian, but I think anybody can appreciate the literary masterpiece, and sometimes that the Bible represents, and sometimes to just hear its words can help you ground you, regardless of what faith you are.
Ancient wisdom.
And fortunately for us, this is Bible Week Marathon on Capitol Hill, where all the Republican senators and the President of the United States are going to read the Bible to remind you who the Christians are coming up in the midterms. Yeah. All right, let's go with our chief Bible reader, Donald Trump.
There shall not fail you as a man to be ruler in Israel. But if you turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you.
Okay, pause it for 1 second. I just did keep the freeze frame there. Here's the thing that I think people don't appreciate about Donald Trump. The Bible's right underneath his hands there. And look at where he's looking.
That's bad TV.
This is a man who has memorized the entire Bible.
Yeah.
And he's just reciting it from heart.
He has the same understanding as a parrot.
What's also amazing is he's been on the same page for the entire time he's reading it, just somewhere in the middle. And I'll absorb it from both ends. Go ahead. Let's hear this stuff.
There shall not fail you as a man to be ruler in Israel. But if you turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among nations. And this house which is high.
Okay, now pause it for a second. Okay. First off, aside from the fact that he really does not understand any of the words he's reading.
No.
Like, this is sort of like, this is like I don't even know what it's almost like the electric company when I was a kid, have like just random words, like somebody would be this, like bat, bat, and just a series of words. He has no idea like what this is referring to with a sentence. Like
none.
It's just
cadence is wrong. It does,
No,
there's no narrative attached to the cadence.
When you read Hebrew for your bar mitzvah, if you don't know what it is, you don't use any intonation. And you know, like unless you know, like, oh, this is a question, so I want to have a rising intonation. He has no idea what he's reading. And then the other fascinating thing is when they cut to that Dutch angle.
Yes.
Brian, as an editor, will tell you there is no motivation for that cut whatsoever. Nope. And so it necessarily means he couldn't say that he couldn't say the word. And he kept fucking up. And so they had to cut to the side cut to just
kind of give it the feel.
We got a couple of pickups and we'll take it from the side. I think you stumbled over the word but and also a man's sheep or something. Go ahead.
Got a little bit more of it here.
Oh, yeah.
And my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other gods and worship them. Then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land, which I have given them. And this house, which I have sanctified for my name, will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among nations. And this house, which is high, shall be an astonishment to everyone that passes by.
Wait, that was a very
this house is
one
high. Yeah, that's a really quick one. I said try his trouble was high.
His tone is so different. His dentures are reset for this little cutaway.
Am I really going to have to do this 2 takes?
Who the hell wrote this shit?
Can't you just like, what difference does it matter if we drop a word or two? Just punch in and then punch back out.
The sentence goes on and on.
In them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among nations. And this house which is high shall be an astonishment to everyone that passes by it, so that he shall say, why has the Lord done thus to this land and to this house? And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them and served them.
Hold on other gods? I don't think that's what it says.
He brought all this evil upon them.
Well,
that was really moving.
Amen.
Oh, God. I'm almost been transcended so much, transcended by that. I can't know if I can keep doing the show.
We are broadcasting live mere steps away from the industrially ravaged Gowanus. Now,
a byword. Become a byword.
Let's see if I can read here. Something like that. Let's see. Virginia voters on Tuesday approved a Democratic redistricting plan that could allow the party to pick up as many as 4 new seats in the
we had 4 camera angles.
Election.
Cut.
Midterm elections. Oh my God. And here's the thing. Here is the thing. Right now, there are millions upon millions of Americans just eating that up. Like,
oh yeah,
he does. He's a bully. He is.
He knows it off the top of his head.
It's amazing. He is just God's messenger.
He's our flawed prophet.
Let's go to another flawed man, shall we? In this instance, he's not the president of the United States. He is, in fact, the head of the FBI.
That's why he's always looking in two different directions.
Now,
surveillance.
Exactly. I don't know which one of these should we play. Should we play number 2 first?
That's the newsy one, right? The drink one.
Well, let's start with number 3. Okay. Number 3 is Kash Patel had his lawsuit against MS Now. Pop this up. There was a pundit on MS Now that claimed that he was a nightclub regular. And he was offended by this because so he sued, not to be confused, incidentally, with the lawsuit he has against The Atlantic now.
Yeah, this one's allegedly was for $5 million.
And incidentally, this is in Texas. The court finds that Director Patel has failed to successfully allege a claim for defamation against Figaluzzi. There it is. So Patel basically just got away with making this guy pay for attorney's fees. This is a form of harassment that Patel is engaging in. And it's a way of indicating to Trump, hey, none of this is true. I'm fighting. And that's what you love, a fighting spirit.
Isn't Texas like the slap suit capital?
Exactly. And here is Patel. Let's do number 2 first. He is being asked questions by the reporters. And look, it is quite clear that people are leaking this information, right? It's quite clear that there are people around Patel who want him out. And they're not Democrats. They're Republicans in the Trump administration. And so it's emboldened the press around this guy.
Where we are today.
Well, I do want to give you an opportunity to respond directly to the allegations in the Atlantic article that your unexplained absences created a national security risk. And beyond that, can you say definitively that you have not been intoxicated or absent during your tenure as FBI director?
I can say unequivocally that I never listen to the fake news mafia. And as when they get louder, it just means I'm doing my job. This FBI director has been on the job twice as many days as every director before me. What that means is I've taken half as many days off as those before me. What that means is I've taken a third less vacation than those before me. What that means is that this FBI with this Department of Justice has dropped the murder rate 20 points. What that means is this FBI with this Department of...
I just note, she asked specifically, like, can you say you haven't been drunk on the job? And he said all the other guys took a lot of vacation.
Mafia. I'm not, well, yeah. Incidentally, the man next to him is Todd Blanche. And Todd Blanche, of course, is the acting attorney general, the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. And guess what job he had on January 19th of 2025, the day before Donald Trump was inaugurated? Well, he was Donald Trump's chief defense attorney. Funny that. Shall we continue?
20 points. What that means is this FBI with this Department of Justice has captured 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world, twice as many as the Biden administration did in its entire 4 years. What that means is this FBI has seized enough fentanyl off the streets to kill 178 million Americans, a 31% increase. What that means is this FBI and this DOJ has arrested 43% more spies in 14 months than the entirety of the Biden administration.
Pause it. Let me just do the next one. Don't take it down. What that means is I'm not going to answer your question about how wasted I've been on the job.
He's a little shaky. Sounds like he might have the DTs.
I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a margarita that is at that podium. He's getting freaked out because his margarita ice is melting. Go ahead.
Is this FBI has seen a reduction in opiate overdose deaths up to 20% alone. What that means is that we have found 6,300 child victims, 6,300 families have their kids back. That is a 22% increase from the Biden administration. I'm on the job. I'm the first one in. I'm the last one out. I'm like an everyday American who loves his country, loves the sport of hockey, and champions my friends when they raise a gold medal and invite me in to celebrate. I've never been intoxicated on the job, and that is why we filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit. And any one of you that wants to participate, bring it on. I'll see you in court.
Okay, now he said, I've never been intoxicated on the job. Now, what does that mean to be on the job?
9 to 5.
9 to 5. Now, okay.
3 o'clock on Friday.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. If I happen to get so wasted at 9 p.m. at night that I sleep till 10 or 11 in the morning, guess what? I'm not on the job yet. I went in late. I've gone in late a lot less than other people, as far as you know.
If I lose my badge for a couple weeks, I'm not on the job.
If you have to knock the door down because I'm not responding.
Exactly. I'm not on the job. I'm not on the job until I sober up because I don't work drunk.
I'm at my girlfriend's concerts across the country, not on the job.
Yeah, the other guy took that. How much vacation? Yeah, I can't sleep until 2 p.m.
In this,
Everybody knows crime happens at night.
Yeah. In this Atlantic piece, they also claim that he freaked out one day. He was locked out of his computer because he... Which, look, we've
is a
all
little
been there.
relatable,
We've all been
honestly.
there, right? This happened to Brian all the time. He gets locked out of his computer. He immediately assumes, what? I've been fired.
Yeah.
Sam's locked me out of the computer because of all the sensitive majority report material.
It's less of a freak out, more of a huge relief, though. What happens to me?
Brian's like, thank God. Hi, honey. I got fired. Oh, shoot. No, I didn't.
Like,
I
if
just
you
forgot the
like
password to my
pina
computer.
coladas.
Here's Kash Patel freaking out about that.
You in court.
Explain the computer login issue. Just explain the computer login issue. You were not able to log into your lawsuit contends that you were not able to log into the system. What did you think after you were unable to log into the system?
Let's have a survey. How many of you people believe that's true? Hang on.
Did you communicate?
You
with
asked the question. Let me answer it.
No, let me.
No.
Did you communicate with anyone that you thought you were fired after you were unable to log into
The problem with you and your report, don't cut me off. You asked the question.
Straightforward question.
The problem with you and your baseless reporting is that is an absolute lie. It was never said. It never happened. And I will serve in this administration as long as the president and the attorney general want me to do so. And every time you guys report false lies, every time you guys raise baseless questions, when we are here to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center's $3 million decade-long scheme to fraudulently fleece Americans, you are off topic.
It's a simple, straightforward question. Did you talk to anybody about whether you thought
The
you were
simple answer to your question is you are lying. And every time you do so, I've answered your question. It's simply as follows. I was never locked out of my systems. Anybody who says it, anyone that says the opposite is lying. Thank you.
Look, man, stop. You're being extraordinarily rude. And I know maybe that's part of your profession, but please just stop. If you ask a question, he can answer it. And then wait, now you're interrupting me. Like, just a little bit of respect, man. Just a tiny little bit. Try it sometime.
Come on, man.
Oh,
Had to bring in the principal because the substitute teacher was getting harassed.
Exactly. That's exactly what that felt like. That is
Stop all
exactly.
humming that high-pitched noise.
And lastly, did you bring enough gum for everybody?
You're rude.
There's a
You're rude. Get time out for 5 minutes.
No recess.
No recess for you.
Kash Patel has a tell when he over eggs his speech with adverbs. So he's like, he calls them false lies instead of just lies, and also fraudulent fleecing. Like, you just say fraud.
It's false lies are truth. It's truth, right? I mean, what is false lie?
No, a false lie is a lie that the mafia, what is it? The fake news mafia tells. But when they lie, those are true lies.
Well, that's right. False lies are lies that were not told, as opposed to actual lies that were told.
Right.
Got it.
So, sir, the reports are that you got logged out of your computer and pooped your pants. Could you comment on that, please?
But the thing is,
I did not get locked out of my computer.
The guy is quoting from the lawsuit that Patel filed. Yes. So the whole,
yes.
Amazing. I we should just mention this Southern Poverty Law Center story. Because this is the latest attempt by the Trump administration to essentially harass enemies of the administration. And the Southern Poverty Law Center, and I think we saw their indictments of Letitia James. We saw their indictments of James Comey. And then as soon as it gets to court, it gets thrown out. I suspect we're going to see the same thing here. The Southern Poverty Law Center apparently had a program for some years. What they do is they report on right-wing extremism. Really, I guess any type of extremism. But it just so happens in this country that when you talk about violent extremism, it's by and large right-wing. And they do investigations and reports on these movements and these groups. They expose them. They provide a lot of that information to the FBI they have over the years. Now, when the Trump administration came in, they stopped cooperating with the Southern Poverty Law Center. But if you have any awareness of investigations, like the way, particularly like the FBI brings indictments, something like 80% of it, maybe more, involves informants, and very often paid informants. Now, the Southern Poverty Law Center is not bringing indictments against people. They're just reporting on the actions of this. Now, they did provide evidence to the FBI that might be bringing indictments. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, people donate to them to investigate right-wing and expose right-wing extremists. Southern Poverty Law Center, over the course of a decade and a half or so, apparently is the charge, paid informants for their information. And the problem, according to the DOJ, is that donors to the Southern Poverty Law Center did not know this. And so they were defrauded, which is absurd. First of all, I don't even know if there's any donors that are part of this case. I don't know that anybody filed any charges or claimed any fraud. This is just an investigation from whole cloth. They're doing the same thing with Act Blue. We just had an immigration attorney on who said they're doing the same thing with nonprofit immigration rights organizations. So I suspect Southern Poverty Law Center is going to win this case, but it's also to drain them of funds. So that's basically what's going on. Part of it, somebody's asking, isn't part of the suit so that Republicans can point to it and see there isn't racism, it's all manufactured by the left? No, they're actually going and saying Southern Poverty Law Center claims they were fighting extremism. They were funding it.
They're funding the KKK and Aryan nations.
Which, of course, is just, it's a joke. But this is what an authoritarian government does.
So was the FBI funding the mafia when Donnie Brasco was undercover?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. Literally, yeah. I've been told by both agents and reporters who work on these things that in the main, if there's ever a case that works, it's because there was a paid informant involved in any of these type of investigations. Let's go to the other big story today, which of course happened in Virginia. We talked about it up front. And you want a great breakdown on what happened in Virginia. Of course, the Virginians voted to do some redistricting largely. And I don't think there was any sort of pretense about this. It was in response to Republicans redistricting across the country. You got Texas, you got other states where they have redistricted specifically with the hopes, it may have backfired, of gerrymandering so they could win more seats. And so Virginia decided, we're going to do that. We're going to do it temporarily. We're going to have the General Assembly in charge of redistricting, take it away from the independent commission until the census in 2030, which is when it's traditionally done. And people are anticipating Democrats will pick up 4 seats in Virginia because of this. And who best to break it down? The savvy and well-read Tim Pool.
Manipulated the map to eliminate Republicans. Now, many Democrats are saying, yeah, well, Texas did it first. No, actually, Texas didn't. Take a look at this map here, for instance. This is the 6th Congressional District. You can see that's Corsicana and stretching up into southern Dallas. The new map, actually much, much larger. Now, what does that mean? Well, districts typically have to have about 775,000 people in it because that's how we apportion it based on congressional seat. This means that this area saw a population decline, so they made it bigger. It's population decline. To be fair, you can make the argument.
Pause it for a second.
They should not have.
No, keep it up and scroll up because I go back just a little bit. They made it bigger. But first off, how do they know there's a population decline? This is not, the census isn't out for another 5 years. So he's making this up. What they did is they went to, they used computer profiling to find out where there were more Republicans. And they basically diluted the strength of, they see that little blue tail there. They diluted the strength of that little blue tail by adding more rural area and turning that district red. Go ahead.
Now, what does that mean? Well, districts typically have to have about 775,000 people in it because that's how we apportion it based on congressional seat. This means that this area saw a population decline, so they made it bigger. Swamped. It's population decline. To be fair, you can make the argument they should not have redrawn their maps or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, this looks more like a shift. Actually, the easiest way to put it is Texas is making it easier, has made it easier for, to be fair, this is an older article, so I should probably pull up, let's try and
what the? He doesn't know. He's got so lost.
He's in the deep end.
The general argument has been that Texas, Texas has made it easier for Republicans to hold their seats as opposed to outright just drafting up, doing what Virginia did, to put it simply. Again, guys,
what Virginia did in response.
Yeah, what Virginia did in response. They just made it easier for what is he saying?
I don't know. He put it simply.
He just made it easier for Republicans to. Now, this is. I don't know if I can say confidently that Tim Pool is knowingly lying, because I think you can never, ever discount the fact that he just has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And really just has the ability to read on the fly and only reads into the first paragraph. But if you're asking the question, if you're one of those people who want to ask, like, oh, is this the case? Did Texas do this first or not? All you'd need to do is to Google, did Texas redistrict? And Google will fill in as soon as you start to write it would be district. Put up a couple of, we got a couple of headlines. Trump to Texas on redistricting. We're entitled to 5 more seats. Put up the next one. Recenter it. Trump tells Texas Republicans to redraw the state congressional map to help keep House majority. Here's a clip here's a clip from Donald Trump on that very thing. And incidentally, this is a clip from local Texas television. Got it?
Well, a lot happening. Thanks for the updates, Brianda. So we are following a developing story in Austin this morning. President Donald Trump just told Texas lawmakers how many congressional seats he wants to flip from Democrat to Republican.
I think we get 5, and there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one.
All right, so there it is. Like, if there's any doubt in your mind what the intention was, now
We're going to get,
and that's exactly what the intention was of the Texas Republicans. But the problem they had is that their seats were already pretty gerrymandered. And so when you gerrymander, what you do is, if you have, for instance, a district where the R plus, the partisan index, they say, is Republicans win this seat by 20 points. Every time a Republican runs, it's usually they win by 20 points, let's just say. And it borders 2 other districts where Democrats win by 4 points. Traditionally, they win by 4 points. Well, what you do is you redistrict in such a way that that first Republican plus 20 district becomes a Republican plus 7. Or let's call it 6, so I don't have to do complicated math. And you take 7, you take part of the district that votes for Republicans more, which basically adds plus 7, to both those 2 districts where Democrats win by 3 or 4. And all of a sudden now you have 3 Republican districts, one which wins by 6 or 7, one which wins by 2 or 3. But the problem that the Texas Republicans have is that they had very thin margins for those other, those seats that they were turning blue. And they were basing it upon the results of the 2024 election, where Donald Trump had a surge in Latino voters. And those Latino voters have now abandoned Donald Trump. So
Why do you think that is?
their gerrymander has now turned into a dummy-mander. And so I guess Tim Pool is saying, somehow trying to argue that Texas Republicans redistricted just because. There was no census. That's why people wait for the census. All right, let's continue on. It's so dumb.
Has made it easier for, to be, Texas is making it easier, has made it easier for, to be fair, this is an older article, so I should probably pull up.
Whoops.
Let's try another one.
Whoopsie.
Old congressional map, Texas. The general argument has been that Texas, oh, come on. Texas has made it easier for Republicans to hold.
There's been no argument. Everybody has explicitly known this is a war declared by the Republicans. And for one of the first times ever I remember, Democrats said, okay, we're not going to bring a butter knife to a gunfight. We're going to go and do this. And so Democrats went out and did it. But go ahead, let's listen to Tim Pool tell his stupidness.
Hold their seats as opposed to outright just drafting up, doing what Virginia did, to put it simply. Again, guys, Virginia is deeply evil. Deeply, deeply evil. I have no words. I mean, one of the big stories of the day that I'm going to cover later on is the SPLC. I've got 1,000,001 things to say about this.
Deeply evil.
These are evil people. That's the only way I can describe it. And,
Pause it. The reason why it's the only reason why I can describe it. Leave it up. Leave it up. The only reason why you can describe it as deeply evil is because he doesn't know any of the details or the facts involved here. So he can just say, like, look, instead of like getting through like exactly what happened, let me just say, very bad. Go ahead.
Satanic even.
Saying, Tim, when Texas redrew their congressional map, you just said Republicans win. And I'm like, well, yeah, because Republicans made an argument. And it's not necessarily a good argument. And I concede mid-decade redistricting is like it's a scheme, really. I mean, it's not something you do. And they got a temporary allowance on it, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Not an evil scheme. It was a good scheme. They actually made an argument. What was the argument? You just saw Donald Trump say, we're going to redistrict to get 5 more seats. That was the argument.
David Griscom and I interviewed 2 lawmakers in Texas that were there in Illinois, breaking quorum because they didn't want this to happen. And the Texas Republicans wanted to arrest them with sheriffs and bring them back to force them to vote on this.
That's called a good scheme. Right.
And really, I concede mid-decade redistricting is like it's a scheme. Really, I mean, it's not something you do. And they got a temporary allowance on it, I guess. It may revert later on. The argument there is the population shifted dramatically under Biden.
I didn't read that far, so I don't know. Texas is not going to revert. Virginia will. Go ahead.
May revert later on. The argument there is the population shifted dramatically under Biden. They're redrawing the maps to better adjust to population sizes. The only real argument is don't do this mid-decade. That's it.
Well, however, the reason why you don't do it mid-decade is because something in the Constitution calls for, happens at the end of every decade.
Yeah.
Matt, you are an astute observer of American history. You haven't been alive for that many decades, but certainly you must have read the history of why is it that we do it every decade? Is it because it ends with a 0 and it's just sort of a clean time to do it? Or
I think we, as far as I know, we do to conduct the census every decade to check those exact same population shifts that Tim Pool is talking about, needing to do a mid-decade redistricting blind.
It's not just tradition.
Just quorum.
It's from the Roman times.
Go ahead. He's so stupid. And the lying, I don't know if it actually constitutes lying because he doesn't know what the truth is.
Yeah.
So he's just making up an argument that is, and he's not even making up an argument here. No. It's just evil.
He's making it up and losing it at the same time.
Exactly.
Better adjust to population sizes. The only real argument is don't do this mid-decade. That's it. However, the argument is not that Texas gerrymandered to a psychotic and extreme degree to eliminate Democrats. The argument
absolutely did.
These seats were.
They 100% did. It's just that their capacity to do so was far more limited because they had already, since the 2010s, and the Republicans and their godfather, what was the guy's name again? Hofeller of redistricting.
Yeah.
Had used computerized models to be able to redistrict at that time in a way that was going to be much more favorable for Republicans. So their capacity to gerrymander more was less. But even still, they thought, they may end up picking up 1 or 2, but they thought they were going to get 5.
Yeah.
So he's just blatantly lying here because he doesn't. And this is the fascinating thing. It's like, I think there must be a lot of viewers of Tim Pool who consume no other news.
Yep.
Because if you watch this segment and you watch Tim Pool and you know anything, if you've listened to any news, it was such a big story about Texas, about Trump demanding Texas redistrict, about them doing it, about them getting it explicitly for 5 seats, about Democratic lawmakers leaving the state and being threatened. It was such a big story. You would have had to have missed all of that because Tim Pool didn't cover it. Or if he did, it was in a completely dishonest way.
Yeah, I'm looking now, and he covered it pretty regularly. Texas Republicans win redistricting battle. Dems melting down as GOP
show it. I mean, he's such a liar. It's unbelievable. Is his audience as stupid as he is? Or is it just that they forget?
Permanence.
Oh, there's no object permanence. All right, let's listen to a little more of his sort of this is a guy who's shadow boxing with himself and managed to bloody himself. Go ahead.
Do you want the one from months
ago? Just show. Oh, wait, is this the?
This is the one. This is the one where he's celebrating. Get the title in this.
Okay.
One. So this is Texas Republicans win redistricting battle. Dems melting down as GOP looks to gain 5 seats.
Oh my God, that's his own show. That's his own show. Amazing. All right, keep playing from this one.
Here's the recent one. Yep.
were going to go away in 2030. They're doing it early to give themselves an advantage, making red areas redder and less competitive. Okay, fair point. That's schemy. You shouldn't do that. What Democrats are doing in Virginia is absolutely psychotic. And I want to stress this. What Texas does has no bearing on the rights of Virginians. The idea that Virginia Democrats said, F the Republicans in our
state. That is not at all the case.
Yeah.
Because these people go to Congress. It is a federal body. Who controls Congress has everything to do with Virginia. In fact, particularly Virginia, in the wake of like what's been going on with all the cuts, there's people there who work for the federal government. A lot of people. But in general, yes, the congressmen from Texas implicate me living in New York.
Yeah.
If they are in the majority.
That's why the Republicans are doing all this.
It's why everybody's doing it. Go ahead.
State, we're mad at Trump. They don't believe in democracy. I mean, that's just it. Look, guys, come at me, bro. Say, yeah, well, Republicans don't care about democracy. I say, okay. Yep, agreed. They shouldn't have done it in Texas. We agree. What justification have you then for doing it in Virginia? They did it first? Okay, you're all fascists. Is that the argument? You're all fascists? I'll take it. I don't care for the
we're
Republican
fighting
Party.
against people who we're okay. All right. Well, I want to go back and hear him now try and argue that the Democrats should maintain the norms and Republicans should not. And then it's just if Republicans get in trouble, and he's saying the Republicans are fascists. If the fascists get in control, it's your fault. You just were outsmarted.
Yep.
I would bet $1 million on that video that Republicans gerrymander Texas, get 5 extra seats, and Democrats are freaking out that he was not calling Republicans fascist for doing this. I would bet
Republicans don't
everything. All right, let's just keep going with this.
Care about democracy? I say, okay. Yep, agreed. They shouldn't have done it in Texas. We agree. What justification have you then for doing it in Virginia? They did it first? Okay, you're all fascists. Is that the argument? You're all fascists? I'll take it. I don't care for the Republican Party. They suck. Oh, boy, here we go. Hakeem Jeffries. Democrats defeated Donald Trump's gerrymandering scheme in Virginia tonight. We will crush the DeSantis dummy-mander in Florida next. Maximum warfare everywhere all the time. I hate all of these people. I hate the Republicans. I hate the Democrats. Do you feel it with me, my friends?
Well, pause it for 1 second. I'm curious. Am I hallucinating, or did a month ago Tim Pool go on a rant for days about Candace Owens for telling people not to vote for Republicans in the midterms? I mean, wasn't that that was his entire project for a month, it seems like.
But then Candace Owens destroyed him, and I think he's trying to, bury his poo.
Does he honestly, does he have the brain of a cat, or is he just that deceptive? That is going to be the eternal question. We're going to have to wait till Tim Pool's on his deathbed until he can actually reveal what the truth is. My guess is it could be both.
Yeah. You want a little bit more of this?
Oh, God, yes.
Angry and hateful. When in my youth, it was more disdain, I'd call it. But I am so just sick of all of these people. The Republicans are spineless, pathetic losers. The Democrats are unrepentant, power-hungry psychopaths. Okay. And the argument is, well, it's better to have a Republican Party that does nothing than a Democratic Party that destroys everything.
Any insight
and I'm
into
like, are those our
anything.
options? Is that what it's going to be the whole time? Because, okay, I guess. In which case, I guess the Democrats are right about everything, really. Screw the people, screw the working class, screw everybody, steal power, and crush your enemies.
Yeah, the Republicans are trying to redistrict for the working class.
Yes, of course. Of course they are. Of course they are.
Should we just take a little bit of a sampling from the way they were talking 8 months ago about this? I'm just going to pull in.
Let's go back. This is just unbelievable.
This is a guy named Brett. I don't even know this. To be fair, it looks like Tim wasn't here. This was a Phil Labonte, the former rock star led segment about Texas Republicans win redistricting battle. So Tim's not here, but let's see how they were talking about it on Tim's own show.
Can't show those 7 states to a Jasmine Crockett or whoever is making their argument to the contrary, because they probably know anyway. Well, she might not know, but the other ones who are talking about this might already likely know about this. They understand that it's not racial. They understand that it's absolutely about political power. They don't care, and they never have.
Yeah. So it looks like, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 states that Republicans could redraw the maps in, whereas the Democrats have 4. So it doesn't look good for the Democrats. In California,
That's they're going based on a Chris Cillizza tweet that does not include Virginia. So I would say maybe don't count on Chris Cillizza in the future, guys.
This is just like the ultimate in step on a rake type of.
This is what they did, and now they're saying the problem is Republicans weren't aggressive enough. No, they
ran out of room. There was no other place again. They had been redistricting, they had been gerrymandering in this way since 2010. Democrats tried to fight it. They did independent commissions. They went to the Supreme Court. Anthony Kennedy, before he retired, there was a case that came up, I think it was in the aughts, where he said, if you can ever come back and show me a way in which you can quantify when something's been overly gerrymandered, then do that. And academics did. They came up with a tool, essentially an algorithm that would give a sense of like wasted votes and percentages. And then Kennedy was like, "Well, I'm leaving. I'm outside the. Never mind that." And so, political gerrymanders were found by the majority of the Republicans on the Supreme Court, not the Democratic appointees, as being legal. So at this point, Republicans attempted to gerrymander and think they're going to pick up 5 in Texas, but now they're freaking out because they were counting on voters who may not end up voting for them, and that may be a dummy mander. In North Carolina, they picked up a seat. In Missouri, they picked up a seat. Ohio, they could pick up 2. But California came through with 5, and it's going to be, and they're going to definitely pick up those 5 because Democrats are likely to overperform in this election. Utah, oddly enough, because a judge struck down the Republican gerrymander and instituted a more fair map, Democrats may actually pick up 1 in Utah. Florida, they're going to go for 4 or 5. But as it stands now, the Democrats are likely winning this gerrymander war that the Republicans unabashedly started. And I will tell you, the amount of pressure that Democrats had to generate, grassroots pressure, to get Democrats to engage in this fight was pretty extensive. Yeah. They do not like to do these type of things.
You want a little bit more of the old one just to see them step on the rake, or are we done?
Yes. No, I want to see more. Sam Slutty's Glasses said you should check out Rat Eft by David Daly. And we had him on. We definitely had him on to interview him about this several years ago. We'll dig it up and find out when. Go ahead.
It isn't even a guarantee. They're just talking about it, and they'd have to have a referendum, and the people would actually have to vote for it. So do you guys have the sense that this is something that the Republicans will push for? Because as far as I'm concerned, like, I want to see the Republicans do everything they can to shove it down the Democrats' throats, because this is something, again, we talk about regularly.
Fascist, according to Tim Pool. Does Tim Pool know that they live amongst the call?
Tim's not a Republican.
The call is coming from inside the house.
From in front of the skateboard.
Republicans do everything they can to shove it down the Democrats' throats, because this is something, again, we talk about regularly. Democrats are going to do that. Democrats are going to do everything they can if and when they get back in power, because eventually they will. When they do, they are going to do everything they can to expand the court, the Supreme Court. They're going to try to add.
I wish, man.
From your mouth to God's ears.
If only the Democratic Party did what Republicans are scared of them doing.
What Republicans did is sort of like if they're a baseball team and they lose a game, they're like, hey, we're going to go to corking our bats. And then it turns out that they've actually been corking their bats the whole time, and it just give permission to everyone else to cork their bats.
Should we just watch? Is there any more of that? Let's do PBD. I know we're up against it. I'm not going to have any time for calls today. According to Ken Klippenstein, David Scott, a Democratic representative from Georgia, has passed away. This spry young man died after serving only 23 years in the House. Truly a tragedy when one so young dies before finishing his 12th term. I think he was in his 80s. So congratulations, Democrats. I think they have literally lost more people to death than they have picked up in gerrymandering. I want to do this Patrick Bet David, but we're at 2:30. Will you guys save this for me for on Friday?
Yeah, we'll save it for Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew I could get you to promise that, because otherwise you're here until 3:15.
Yeah. I got a party to go to.
Yeah, you do. Hold on for 1 second. All right. Let me read 5 IMs and then we're out of here. Let's see what we got. Rabbi, can we talk about Abigail Spanberger eliminating the tax exemption for Confederacy memorial institutions? Republicans are outraged. All I can think is how ludicrous it is that an institution memorializing a legitimate effort to secede and rebel against the U.S. was ever afforded an exemption. Ridiculous. Free speech doesn't mean free tax. Of course, it's absurd. We did not handle Reconstruction in the right way. We should have occupied the South for a long time.
Yep. Instead, we continue to exterminate Native Americans. So,
comrade, you should check out Arisha Papri, state rep candidate in Austin, who has a real shot at being the first socialist ever elected to the Texas state legislature. That sounds like a left reckoning thing if I ever heard of it.
Yeah, interesting.
Tomo Flink. Happy Friends Day Wednesday, folks. Here in Britain, it's come to light that Lord Mandelson failed the security vetting prior to his appointment as Britain's ambassador to the U.S. Starmer claims he was unaware of this when he appointed Mandelson and has fired the most senior civil servant in the Foreign Office. Also, I've just spent a week in Spain, the Canary Islands to be exact. Fun fact about Spain's tourism industry, a lot of hotels and stuff were paid by British organized criminals needing somewhere that Britain didn't have an extradition treaty, with all the time to launder their money. Also, can J.D. Vance start coaching rugby teams that I don't like? Look into that. Colin from Maryland. I am part of the Hagerstown response group that was pushing back against the Maryland warehouse ice jail. It's currently paused because we won a lawsuit claiming they skirted environmental reviews. A rare win in these tough times. We had a guest on from that.
Yeah, we had 3.
We had 3 guests on from the Hagerstown. Yes. They attempted to do that environmental rule for so-called Alligator Alcatraz, but the court ruled that it was not a federal enterprise, so it was not subject to a federal EPA review.
That was yesterday.
Annoying pendant. Sam, a pendant is a decorative form or charm designed to be freely hanging from a chain, necklace, earring, or bracelet. A pendant is a person who overemphasizes minor trivial details, often ignoring common sense.
A pedant.
Pedant. Whatever. Pedant.
Being pedantic about Sam's pronunciation of the word pedant.
And the final IM of the day, Mind Pillow Guy. Sam, would you be interested in interviewing a progressive medical for all, abolish ICE, free Palestine candidate running to represent the blue dot in this deep South? His name is Rob Ryers. He's running for Arkansas's 3rd district. He hasn't gotten much media attention, but he sounds far better than anyone who's run here in a while. We'll look into him. Brian, will you write that guy's name down? Rob,
Yep.
Ryerse. Matt, Brian, Emma, in absentia, great job today, folks. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar. But finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light's shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks.